One thing I think we forget about our favorite yellow guy is the amount of times his show could have turned things around but didn't. Seasons 4 and 5 showed promise and then promptly led us into seasons 6 and 7, two of the worst of the entire show. Season 8 seemed to improve, and then we got Season 9, the topic of this video, which is, in my opinion, the best season since the first three, even surpassing the first season in some aspects. It is, in my opinion, the most underrated season of the entire show. And one misconception I want to clear up is the reason this show continues to be a topic I talk about on this channel. For one thing, it tends to be the topic that gets me the most views, and for another thing, it's an interesting show to talk about in general. Spongebob, both the character and the show, have had many different eras in 25 years of existence, good and bad. Trying to figure out where they are and discuss both the good and the bad is part of the fun for me. Maybe even more so than watching the actual show itself at times. I might like talking about SpongeBob a lot, but honestly that doesn't mean it's my favorite television show or even in my top 5. You've got to sift through a lot of crap to find something enjoyable to watch the longer this show goes on. But that's exactly what brings me to the topic of this video. I've done that sifting. In the consecutive seasons around Season 9, there really isn't a good one in my opinion. This video was actually going to originally be a top 5 most underrated seasons, but when I sat down and thought about it, there's really only one underrated season. Now, there were quite a few overrated ones, 10 easily comes to mind first, but that's not really the point. I think Season 9 maybe doesn't get the reputation it deserves because it's really more like two seasons joined together. This conjoined twin of a season had the unfortunate circumstance of having its first portion be the worst one of the two, and that seriously affected the way people ended up viewing it in hindsight. I mean, Season 4 started out a lot better than it ended, and you can see how the opinion of Season 4 has changed over time versus 9. The first half of Season 9 was basically Season 8 but in HD, which is fine if the goal is to just make a show that's alright, but if the goal was to actually be funny and capture the feeling of the original seasons, they did not do that. And in all fairness, I don't think that was the goal anyway. Looking back at some of these episodes, they feel a lot like lukewarm versions of episodes we'd already seen before. Squirrel Record is an episode where Sandy tries to get SpongeBob to do a lot of extreme stunts, and he has a hard time telling her that he doesn't want to do them. Gee, never seen that before. SpongeBob breaks his spatula and gets a new one, only to find out that it turns out to not be a normal spatula. Never seen that before either. And I can keep doing this. It doesn't necessarily make for a bad collection of episodes, but I have to be honest when I say the first half of Season 9 isn't the most memorable. A lot of the episodes are just average and don't really have that much rewatch value because the atmosphere isn't very SpongeBob-ish. And it's not really even like there's a lot of jokes. There's not a lot of even attempts at jokes, and that's what makes it really hard for a lot of these episodes to stand out. Yes, there's one or two really good or really bad episodes like Plankton's Pet or Little Yellow Book respectively, and there's even SpongeBob You're Fired, which might just be the worst episode of the entire show. But outside of those outliers, there's not much to write home about, and that's why I don't really think people stayed tuned for the rest of the season after how average the first half was. Hillenburg and some of the old staff coming back did turn some heads, but there's always a contingent of people that have a hard stance that anything after the first 3 or 4 seasons is bad, so they don't watch. And that's a real shame, and it's why I think Season 9 is underrated. The first thing you notice is the quality. Previous seasons had developed a lot of, for lack of a better term, bad habits that made it hard to enjoy a lot of episodes. We could look at what Pet Sitter Pat did to Patrick, where they played animal abuse for laughs, or how they stripped any creativity out of the Plankton episodes and just had him in disguise after disguise with little changes to the formula, no pun intended. The second half of Season 9 brought it back, and more importantly, it brought back livelihood to Bikini Bottom. There were a lot fewer generic settings, and it felt like the main characters of the show were the only ones really living in this universe before. Background fish and even side characters felt more like Skyrim NPCs than anything else.
Your crusty dog, sir, with extra mustard.
Thanks.
Can I bring you something else? Okay, I guess not.
A single sentence summary of what the show was in Season 9 would be that it lacked personality. And what Season 9 really did in the second half was bring back the personality. Characters could be snarky. Each episode didn't feel like it was confined to just the Krusty Krab or the Chum Bucket. Characters could explore more wacky and comedically interesting situations. I mean, there's an episode where Patrick inadvertently gets trapped in a corporate setting and doesn't know what to do. That's genius! There was an episode where SpongeBob and Squidward explore the sewers where they managed to tell a lot of jokes and not have the episode be exceedingly disgusting. Even when the episodes weren't particularly good, like Salsa and Basilicus or Married to Money, I still felt like the show captured the feeling of the first 3 seasons the best it could. These episodes were flawed. They were very clearly flawed. But I'd much rather have them be that way than what the show became. The sad truth is that this show was at a crossroads after Season 9 ended. They could try to keep doing the same thing in Seasons 10 onward, or they could try to have a new identity. They picked the second option, and the new identity they chose was to get rid of the clever dialogue humor that made the show famous, and instead make it so that wacky expressions were basically the only jokes, if you could even call them jokes. This is one of my biggest reasons for giving Season 10 the harsh criticism I give it. This show was bad, it became good again, and then you dropped the ball and ruined it. I mean, the first episode of Season 10, Whirly Brains, is a bottom 20 episode for just being the exact opposite of what this show is when it's good. Season 9 showed them the path for how to make this show good again. They did it for half a season and then decided to go a completely different direction when, for once, the fans actually seemed satisfied. I cannot wrap my brain around this decision. So much of why the show is the way it is now is due to that single decision. And it frustrates me so much, because now all I can do is point out how one half of a season from a decade ago is underrated. Nearly every episode since Season 10 has been influenced by face freeze, which is so baffling because it's such a confusing decision. I've seen them bring back good Spongebob just to kill him after only 29 episodes. That is why Season 9 is so underrated, because no one talks about that being the reason why the show changed so much. Casual observers see everything past the 3 classic seasons as bad, because when it got good again, they decided to change too fast and didn't stay good long enough. None of the atmosphere, character personalities, witty humor, or the creative set pieces and one-off characters carried over into Season 10. And the jarring transition from 9 to 10 is almost like watching a different show. It's like 3 to 4 on steroids. People really didn't like Season 4 when it came out because it was so different, and I have no idea why 10 doesn't get a similar outrage because it absolutely deserves it. We saw a basically dead cartoon be resurrected, and it was only for 29 episodes, and we're currently witnessing a zombie that no amount of movies, spin-offs, or video games can save. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, leave a like and a subscription. It really helps out the channel. More videos will be coming soon. Stay tuned.